Hi, welcome to Partnership Realty's class here on rentals. Today we're going to teach you guys how to fill out a Florida residential lease. So we're going to go over from beginning to the very end on how the process for a realtor and what the steps are and how they should begin, and then filling out a contract to lease, which is pretty much making an offer on a lease, presenting an offer to a listing agent or to a landlord or to a management company, and then filling out a lease as well too. So let's start here with our presentation, and let's go into a residential lease, okay? For the realtors, our realtors from Partnership Realty, where is it that you go and how do you start? Well, you need to start by, you got to get clients. You got to find clients. So you need to get marketing. So you need to do some marketing. So we recommend here at Partnership Realty that you use our listings. We carry between about 500 listings every single month, but it's been a seller's market. I mean, properties are being sold left and right. It's a very, very active market. It's been like that now for over a year. I mean, it's been like that for quite a while. So we're carrying between 400 to 400 listings. I recommend our realtors from Partnership Realty to use our listings. So take any of our rental listings and promote them. Where are you going to promote them through? I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes, okay? But you're going to see here right now office listings. So you're going to, as you're looking at here, you can go into your MLS and you're going to find under office listings all the listings that you have, okay? Pick out, you got to promote 2 to 3 properties every single day. So pick out a few properties, and then where are you going to start promoting them at? You're going to start promoting them through Facebook and Instagram. Those are your best tools right now to get leads. Those are your phenomenal tools. You can touch, I am talking thousands and thousands of people, through your social media. And I recommend those. Those are the ones that all the realtors are using. So let's say, and I'll give you an example here here on our board here. Let's say that in your Facebook and in your Instagram, you might have about 200 followers. The more you promote properties in there, the more, and you leave it public, open to the public, okay? The more that you promote these properties in there, and every day you're putting in 2 or 3 more listings, the next day 2 or 3 more listings, people are coming into your social media to find new homes. But here's the thing. Say that, you forgot to post something, tomorrow or the following day. So anyone that's looking for a property, when they come into your social media, which is your Facebook or Instagram, and they see that you haven't posted anything new, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go into another realtor's Facebook. So you're going to lose a client there. This is a job. So every day you guys have to post listings. You got to post 2 to 3 properties every single day. And we've got enough listings in our office that you'll never ever run out of listings, okay? And then when you start posting there, you'll just start seeing those numbers grow. You'll start seeing them that within a couple of weeks, you've got 800 viewers. Within a couple of more weeks, you got 1,500. 3,000. I can tell you a lot of realtors that started with us that had nothing but 50 or 70 viewers. And nowadays, there are 20, 30,000 viewers and people that are watching them, but they're promoting themselves, promoting our listings through their Facebook, their Instagram on a daily basis. This is a job, and you guys have to do this. So, because anyone that's looking for a property, they might not like the first 2 or 3 or 4 that you put in there. So you've got to promote more. And Partnership Realty has enough listings. It will never run out of listings. So you guys are going to keep promoting it, and you're going to be getting new clients, and a lot of people are going to start going into your social media to find these pages. Now, really important, when you start promoting them, this is called advertising. You're advertising through social media. You have to put in Partnership Realty's logo. You've got to put it in. Partnership Realty, the name and the logo is going to be in there. Why? Because it's advertising. Because if not, you've got a blind ad. So you've got to be promoting it all the time, putting in there. Where do you find those logos? Find it in our Form Simplicity. So you go into your MLS, you go into your Form Simplicity, and you'll find the logos, okay? So let's go here to the next page. Another recommendation that I recommend highly, local newspapers. Oh, geez, there are so many. Go to any supermarket, go to anywhere, and you're going to find these local newspapers. Classified ads is what you want to put it. But even though you put a classified ad in there, which is really truly called like a 5-liner, 6-liner, you have to put at the bottom Partnership Realty, that you work for Partnership Realty, okay? Because if not, again, it's a blind ad. So any type of advertising that you guys have to do, you've got to put the company that you work for. In this case, it's Partnership Realty. So with the classifieds, a lot of the local newspapers, they'll actually allow you guys to put these ads in there for free. They don't charge you anything for classifieds. Like, little quarter-page ads or half-page ads, they will charge for that, but not for classifieds. Many local newspapers and local magazines don't charge for classifieds. So that's another place that I highly recommend that you market all of our listings. These listings aren't yours, but since you work for Partnership Realty, they are yours. What's the worst thing you could do? Rent it. The listing agent's going to love you. And you'll have the tenant, and the listing agent's got the landlord. So phenomenal. So try to do marketing on a daily basis, new properties.
You can also take advantage of the neighborhood that you're living in, and that's something that you can also do. Like, for example, if you live in a community that's got like an HOA, they usually prepare these meetings. Go ahead and go to the meetings and start introducing yourself to your neighbors, because that's the perfect niche that you can use, starting with your neighborhood. So that's
absolutely. If you
it's
guys,
free, you don't have to pay anything. You just have to start marketing yourself as a realtor, and you need to get to know your farming area, and what best way to start than using your actual community.
correct. We've got a lot of marketing classes. Go to YouTube right there and just look at any of our marketing classes. The ones that I'm showing you right now, it doesn't cost you anything. But again, flyers, there's a lot of different marketing techniques that you guys can use. But if you want a marketing class, just go into Partnership Realty, put in marketing, and you'll find a lot of these marketing classes, different strategies and tactics on how to make your phone ring, how to get new clients, okay, and get new landlords as well too, and so forth, or buyers or sellers, okay. So let's start here with, what are the steps? The first steps is to really listen to your clients. Find out what their needs are. So in this case here, we're representing a tenant. We need to find out what their needs are. For example, you want to find out, do they have pets? Do they have children? Do they have 2 to 3 cars? Because there's some communities that you have to be really careful, because there's only parking space for 2 cars, and there's 3 cars in that household. You're going to have a bad scenario there, because you can't put somebody under a contract, which is a lease. A lease is a legal binding document, okay? You can't put them under contract without understanding their needs. So we need to find out their needs, what they are, and then we're going to find the listings on that. You want to meet the clients here at the office, and here's the best part about this. I can't tell you how many realtors in our office have started out with these marketing techniques on, for getting rentals. And from these rentals, they have actually gotten clients that they can convert them into purchases, because clients don't know that there's a lot of programs out there by FHA, by conventional and FHA, that you can purchase a property just for first-time home buyers with minimum down like anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. So truly, when you're going to go rent a property, you need first, last, and security. So if someone comes in, they got $5,000, $6,000 to put down, they truly won't even need it. You're going to save them $4,000, and you're going to get them out of the rental world into the home ownership, okay? So the problem is that when they go to get pre-qualified, clients need anywhere from $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $15,000, $17,000, $20,000 to purchase a home. What they don't know is that there are programs out there, again, by conventional loans and FHA loans for first-time home buyers, that they're going to be able to qualify. They got the right credit score, they got the job, and they got $5,000 down. They don't even need the $5,000. They only need a couple thousand. So you realtors, you got to look at our classes on how to pre-qualify a client, and listen and talk to our lenders. And when our lenders, because we got a lot of classes coming up now, different lenders, they're going to talk about their loan products that they've got. And once they talk about these products, remember which lender it is. So when you guys are talking to a tenant, you're going to be able to help a tenant and convert them over into a home ownership. And they're going to send you so many referrals because they're going to be so grateful. They're going to be so happy that they ran into you, the realtor that has the knowledge, to be able to help the public.
Going back to the rental opportunities, then I would recommend also to follow up always, because these tenants may not be ready to buy right now, but they may be ready in a year. So it's very important that you guys follow up always. One strategy that I can share with you is a lot of times they have to provide you like a valid ID. What I do is that I try to take their birth date, and you can, like send a message or call them on the day of their birthday. That way you show that you remember them and that you're always there. You have to remind them that you're there to help them out. So once that, let's say you put that property on Facebook and you got a lead from that ad, they're gonna meet you at the property and they're gonna show you the property, and then you're gonna make sure that that's the house that fits their needs basically. So what do we do next? Once we are ready to write an offer, what are the documents that we are going to need from our tenant?
Correct. So you're going to need basically the MLS report. It's going to tell you basically what the landlord wants or the homeowner wants, okay? But just like basic stuff, like, their ID. You need the valid ID, okay? Proof of income, for example. And sometimes they'll ask for a credit report, background, and evictions. All of that will come into play, okay? So we can pull backgrounds, and when we pull it nationally. So we'll find out, their entire background and evictions, everything's going to come out there, okay? At the same token, you've got an application that you want to fill out, because you want to find out who's going to be there, how many people, because you got to put it on the lease. You're going to have to put down if there's, a couple, if there's 2 people, there's 3 children, you're going to name them all in there.
That's basically how you're going to introduce the tenant to the landlord. So
Correct.
Basically they're going to get to know who their tenants will be if they decide to go with that offer. So make sure that you know what type of cars they drive. That way you make sure that the association is not going to give you any problem if they don't allow like commercial vehicles,
right. Trucks, or
if they have pets but they don't allow that certain breed of dogs, if they don't allow certain sometimes on the pet side, sometimes they do not allow pets that are over 25 pounds. All those things, it's good for you to try to find out from the association. And then once you know that that's the house, then you're going to have to put all these documents together so you can introduce the tenant to the landlord.
Right, the listing agent.
And you're going to attach all these documents to the contract to lease. We're going to talk about the contract to lease in a second. Yeah.
One of the things as well, as Hannah's saying right there as well, that you guys, not only are you finding out here, because there's a lot of listings that the landlords will not allow, or what they want is they don't want a client that has, let's say, below 700 scores. So if your client has a 650, why show them those listings? Why show them those properties when you know they're not going to be able to qualify? Okay, if they got a 620 or something like that. In a lot of cases, you'll see that the landlords, they want the tenant to be able to provide that they make 3 times the rent. So they if they don't make 3 times the rent, then they're not going to qualify for those properties. So that's why it's very important to go over this process that we're showing you guys here right now, because you don't want to be showing them properties, okay, that they're not going to be able to qualify, whether it may be pets, maybe their vehicle, maybe a credit score, maybe income. There's many things. So that's what we need to find out, because we don't want them to go under contract, and we don't want them to waste their time either or anything like that. We want to look out for their needs, and we want to make sure that we do things correctly.
All right, so once we've got all of our information that we need from the tenant, we have collected the ID and we have the application filled out and we're ready to make the offer, then we're going to go to Form Simplicity. And then once we go there, we're going to find a folder that is called Rentals, and in that folder we're going to find something that is called the Contract to Lease. The contract to lease, basically, it's the offer. So I'm gonna explain you how to fill it out at the end of this class. But who is the person who prepares this contract to lease is actually the tenant's agent. All right.
In this case here, we're the tenant's agent, okay? Now, the contract to lease is not a binding contract. That's just nothing more than an offer. We are presenting an offer to the listing agent and to the landlord, the homeowner, and they're going to look at it and see if they're willing to accept these tenants or this tenant or not. So the contract to lease, we're going to go over it in a couple of minutes.
All right. So what would be the next step after we've prepared our contract to lease? If the landlord accepts this tenant, then they will be sending us the lease agreement. So who prepares the lease agreement is basically the landlord's realtor. Okay.
So, and the landlord that you guys need to know about these lease, and say that we are, in this case, we are the realtors that represents the landlord. Okay. There are two types of leases. There is a condo lease and there is a single family home. So make sure that you write the right lease up if you're representing the landlord, okay?
Depending on the type of property
Right.
that you're renting.
So the condo lease also is the same lease, for example, for income producing properties, like a triplex, fourplex, fiveplex, things like that. But the single family is going to be, for example, single family home, a villa, a townhouse, something of that nature. Okay, so remember there are two types of leases, and you need to identify which one's which.
So let's continue with the process. So once the landlord's realtor sends you guys the lease and your tenant sign it, then you have like an executed contract, right? Once you have that contract, what you're gonna have to do, the next step is just to put the money on escrow. What's the amount that you guys put on escrow? It's the equivalent to 1 month. So let's say if our lease is $1,800, then that's the amount that you're going to put on escrow.
Correct.
Please remember that when we're dealing with rentals, what they usually, like 90% of the times, what they require is that you have the first month, the last month, and the security deposit, which is equivalent to a month. So in this case, if the lease is $1,800, then it'll be $5,400 if I'm not mistaken. But what you're gonna put on escrow, it's only gonna be the equivalent to a month.
First
so you're
month's
putting
rent.
$1,800 in escrow. Where can you put this money? You put it in partnership title and escrow. We got an office here. Please remember this. This is very important. In rentals, you do not accept personal checks.
Never.
It doesn't matter if your client, he owns a company and then he's going to give you a check from his company. It doesn't work either. Make sure that for escrow purposes, you always do either money orders or cashier's check.
That's correct.
It is very important that you
That's
keep
correct.
that in mind. And if you need any more guidance, you can always go ahead and call Anna, our escrow director, at 561-720-2225, and she'll be more than happy to assist you guys. She's gonna show you a form that you guys have to fill out when you're bringing the money, or either if you're wiring the money to the title company. Okay. This is basically how the form looks. So when you go over it, it's very simple. You just have to put the address, and if it's a sale or if it's a rental. In this case, we're talking about rental, so they're gonna ask you if you're dropping off the money or if you're wiring it. It's very simple, but any questions, you can call them and they'll make sure they take care of all your concerns.
When you guys send in this form, you also have to send in a copy of the lease, okay? A copy of the lease and what other supporting documents that you might have as well too. But the form is going to explain everything, and that's how they'll know who the tenant is, who the landlord is, how the funds came in, and so forth, and how they're brought in. So the title company basically needs all this here. So let's go to the next page here. This is really important. If there's an HOA, you guys have to find out, you guys have to call up. Before you have your client sign this lease, you have to call this HOA. Call up the management company, call up the HOA, talk to the listing agent. Sometimes the listing agents don't even have a clue on what's going on and what they've got. So make sure that you call up the HOA and ask these questions. For example, what type of vehicles do your clients have? Do they have a pickup truck? And they don't allow pickup trucks. There are a lot of communities that do not allow pickup trucks. And these aren't commercial trucks. These are just, the trucks that they use, but they don't allow pickup trucks. So you can't have your client sign a lease knowing that, okay? The restrictions, okay? You got to find out how many cars they have. You got to find out how many parking spaces are assigned to that rental property. Because if in that family or in that household, if they got 2 to 3 cars and there's only 1 parking per space and then the rest is guests, that is a major problem. Unless you get this cleared with the HOA, is there enough guest spaces, and will they allow these cars overnight there all the time? You've got to ask these questions, okay?
Make sure that all the restrictions are not going to affect your client.
Correct.
That's basically what you're going to need.
Going back again, no, we'll go one more time, go back, sorry. Okay, credit scores. Got to find out the credit scores. You have to find out things like that. Also pets, find out, and because there's sometimes they will not allow from, for example, a service pet, to an emotional support. You need to find out, do they allow emotional support, pet? Because some associations will not allow an emotional support dog, for example. They will allow a service dog, but they won't allow an emotional support. So you need to find out which one before you have your clients sign that lease, okay? Because we want to make this transaction as smooth as possible. We want it to go as best as possible for all parties involved. And again, how is that going to happen? When you call up and find out. You got to make these phone calls with the HOA and so forth, or the management company, or the listing agent. And sometimes, even though you call the listing agent, still call the management company. Okay.
Yeah,
so
sometimes they just either forget or they don't know there are like other restrictions. But moving on with this next slide, it's very important that you are with your clients by the time that you're going to submit the association's application. And the reason is that it's not only your responsibility, but it will also help you to get the approval at the time that you need in a timely manner. You don't know what the association, how long it's going to take for the association to make a decision. So you want to make sure that you filled out the complete application, that you're not missing any blank fields, that you are attaching to the application the contract to lease. If they are asking you to attach the pay stubs or the proof of income or the pet information, whatever that they ask, make sure that you bring the package complete, because that will help you to
speed up the process
on a timely manner.
Correct.
And once you get that approval certificate, even though a lot of communities do not give you like a certificate per se, what you can do is just confirm through an email that your clients got accepted into the association and that they're ready to move into the property.
Right. Sometimes they won't send you a certificate of approval, but they will send you an email stating that your client is approved. What do you guys do? Print that. Print that document. Okay. Your client needs a copy of it, so you're going to forward that to your client, and you're going to put it inside your package, because sometimes a lot of these companies or these HOAs, they're working for free and they forget a paper, they forget a document to put in there. We've seen a couple of months later that they think that the clients were not approved by the HOAs, and they were. That's where your document and proof is at, and that's got to be inside your file as well too. So that's really important.
Okay, so once you've got the certificate of approval and you're all set to move with your clients, you're gonna have to request for the funds that are held in escrow to be dispersed. How do we do this? There's a form that you must fill out as well, and try to make it 2 to 3 days prior to the closing.
Correct.
That way, at the time that you're doing the final walkthrough with your clients, you have the money ready to be dispersed and they can provide you the key to the house. So let's go back to the example that we had about the $1,800. So let's say you are holding this money with our title company. Usually how rentals work is that the realtor for the landlord gets like half of the commission, and then the realtor that represents the tenant is going to get the other half of the commission. So if we're talking about 1,800, it means each of the realtors are going to get $900.
The agencies, correct. So sometimes you guys will see in there that they're not paying half of the first month's rent, but they're paying like 5.17, 5.16. And basically what you're doing right there is pretty simple. You're taking the full amount, 1,800, multiplied by 12 months, and then you're going to multiply that by 5.16 or 5.17, and that's going to give you your commission amount. Okay, so there's different ways of doing it. I recommend the easiest way because it's pretty much the same either or. They're just off by a couple of cents on the dollar. So pretty much I would say the first month's rent, and then that gets split between the two agencies. Now we want to go on here and go over the disbursement, because right now we are ready to go. We've got the certificate of approval, everything is done, and we're ready to go and hand in our funds. You guys as realtors have to send an email or a text to the listing agent. Remember, we represent the tenant's agent. We're the tenant's agent. And ask them how they want these funds to be delivered at the time of closing when they're going to hand the keys over. Okay, so they can only be delivered in one of two ways. One is going to be that they want the funds to come entirely to the listing agency. Then the listing agency is going to pay the landlord their funds what's required. Or sometimes they want it where one check is going to go to the listing agency and the other check is going to go to the actual landlord. So we need to find that in writing, get that request in writing, so that way there are no mistakes. So what do you guys do? For example, Partnership Realty's commission, and we're using $1,800 as an example here. So Partnership Realty's commission, you guys are going to take a photocopy of that check of the $900. And then you're going to go and provide the other check to the listing agent. Well, vice versa, the same thing. Partnership Realty is going to need copies of the check that you're going to provide to the listing agent, and we already have a copy of your check here, but we need copies of the check that you're going to provide. So again, like Hannah said, you want to request this 2 to 3 days before. You don't want to come at the very last moment, because the title companies are very busy at the moment right now. So you want to come at least with 72 hours in advance and go ahead and request the funds to be the checks to be released.
Okay, so once we have our checks ready, we're gonna meet with our tenant and also with the real estate agent to do the final walkthrough of the house. If you guys need the walkthrough form, you can go same as again, Form Simplicity. On the rentals folder, you'll find something that it's called Walkthrough Tenant Landlord, and go ahead and go into the property and check that it's in the same condition that it was at the first time that you saw the property. Okay, and once you do that, if you happen to find something that it's needs to be repaired or anything, make sure you take pictures of this and that you email this and to the realtor, to the landlord's realtor, because that's going to basically save your tenant from being guilty of doing something that he didn't do.
Well,
right?
Pictures are very important as well too. Take a lot of pictures, okay? Save them for your file. In Form Simplicity, you can upload as much as you can. It's unbelievable, how much we can upload in there. So you're going to upload the pictures in there. You're going to upload the actual documents. You have your walkthrough in there. So that time, your client needs to have that as well too. So when the 12 months, end of this 12-month lease comes up, and you guys have pictures of any marks on the wall, any stains on the carpet, any chips on the cabinets or stuff like that, that way there's going to be no going back and forth between the landlord and the tenant. So documenting the photos and this walkthrough, and here's something that you guys have to do. You should not release the funds, and if you're the listing agent, you should not receive the funds until you've got this executed walkthrough, because it's going to cost your landlord a problem afterwards, or it's going to cost your tenant a problem. Make sure that both parties are in agreement with the conditions of the property, and then the keys are going to be released and the funds are going to be distributed.
Okay, so once you guys have done the walkthrough, you guys release the money to the realtor or the landlord, your tenants got the keys. Make sure that you put the package that you're gonna drop off with Tina or Sandra in the payroll department, or you can even email it if you want, but just make sure that all these documents are in the file. So you make sure you have like all the contract to lease, the lease agreement, the walkthrough form, the pictures, the approval of the HOA, and I'm just giving you a couple of examples of the things that you're gonna need, but there's actually a form that it's called the rental closed checklist that is gonna tell you all the documents that you're gonna need to provide to the payroll and disbursement department.
Correct. And where are you going to find this checklist at? Inside your Form Simplicity. You go into Form Packages, you go right there to Rentals, and you're going to find the checklist. And also you're going to go into when you're going to find closed rentals, both forms are going to be there, the disbursement and the checklist. Both items are going to be there. So you're going to have to fill out the disbursement, and you're going to have to need that checklist, because with that checklist, you'll know that all the documents in there. Pretty much everything needs to be in there. So
I'm going to proceed with the contract to lease. I'm going to teach you briefly how to fill it out. So I have already a property, like a transaction that I created.
logged you out.
But yeah, so this is your main menu for the new agents that are not very familiar with the MLS. This is your main menu. Just scroll down until you find Form Simplicity. Once you find it, just click there. This is where basically you're gonna find all the documents that you're gonna need, like all the contracts are going to be there. And Ishmael has separated them into depending on what your scenario is. So if you're a buyer, then you have the buyer's package. If you're listing a property, then you've got the listing package and so forth. But I have already here my transaction. I'm gonna click on it, and I already selected the
Property.
documents that I'm going to fill out. So as you see, there are two different leases. One is for single family and duplex, and then the other one is for apartments and multi-family rental housing.
Right.
Okay?
That's the difference. What I mentioned to you guys earlier. If it's a condo or if it's an income-producing property, it depends on which lease you have to use when you represent the landlord. But right now, we're going to do the contract to lease.
Which, remember, it's the offer and it's written by the tenant's agent.
Right. So you're the tenant's agent. So we're going to use examples here. So as the landlord, it's going to be Hannah Stern, and our prospective tenant is going to be Guillermo Martinez, and I am going to be the actual representing the landlord.
Realtor. Correct.
So we're going to go over it here real quickly.
So let's start with the landlord's name. Then you've got this basic information. Then we've got the tenant's name. And then this date right here, it basically tells you it tells the landlord how much time he has to accept or deny the offer. Usually we give them between 2 to 3 days. So today is the 3rd. We're gonna give them until the 5th for him to review the information that we're going to send him, which is this contract to lease and all the supportive documentation, the ID, the application of our tenant and everything. And we're gonna leave 2 days here for them to accept or deny the offer. Then we're gonna select here the landlord. Usually, like 99% of the time, the landlord is the one who takes care of preparing the lease.
Correct.
So we're just gonna select this option right here, and then we're gonna move on to the deposit area. Deposit, as we discussed before, in this case is $1,800. So we're just gonna type in this number right here, and we're gonna put partnership title and escrow as the agency who's holding this $1,800. Then we will move to the property address, which we already have, and we're gonna select if the property is being rented furnished or unfurnished. In this case, it's unfurnished. Make sure that you check all this information in your listing. So I've got my listing here, and I already know it's $1,800. and if you scroll down, it's gonna tell you if it's furnished or not. If you go here, furnished, it says is unfurnished. So make sure everything matches. And let's move then to the occupants of the home. So the occupants is not the only, it's not only the person who's gonna be on the lease, but it's also, it can be the son, the daughter, or maybe the mom, but they're not in the lease, but they're as occupants. So make sure you type them in to the
Yes.
contract to lease.
Make sure that all the children's are going to be in there, and whoever else is going to be living there, they all are on the lease.
Okay, so for the lease term, we're gonna pretend that we're gonna do a lease for 12 months. So we will be starting April 1st, 2021, and we will be ending our lease March 31st, 2022. Oops, I have an extra 2 here, I'm sorry. The reason why I'm giving so much time before we start the lease is because there's an association involved. So I want to make sure that the association has enough time to process and do all the background or whatever they need to do to my tenants so they can provide the certificate of approval.
Yeah, because in a lot of cases, you want these 30 days. In a lot of cases, the entire approval status goes through a management company. Then from the management company, they hand it over to the HOA members for final approval. So there is a complete process involved. That's why you want to, as mentioned earlier, you want to get this application with all the supporting documents as quickly as possible over to the management company, because there's a bunch of steps that need to be followed.
Okay, so let's move to the money due before occupancy. This number that you guys see right here is gonna pop up once we fill out this breakdown that we've got right here. So as we mentioned, the first month it's gonna be $1,800, and we're gonna give this money once we sign the lease, not the contract lease, but the lease agreement. So once we've got the lease agreement, we'll come to the title company and we'll just drop off the money or wire it. Then we're gonna type in the last month the same $1,800, but it's gonna be due at the move-in date. Why I'm not putting April 1st? Because sometimes it happens that the tenants are in a rush to move, and maybe the association give us an approval before April 1st so they can start the lease prior to that, and I don't want to be like changing all these dates, so I just put at move-in date. Okay. Right.
The lease is what's going to specify exactly the date that they're going to move in. This is nothing more than an offer that we are making to the landlord and the listing agent.
Okay, so same here for security deposit. We're going to do the same $1,800, and they're going to be due also at move-in date.
Also, we didn't put anything for pet deposit, but if they are allowing pets. We're right there where you see pet deposit. You're going to put whatever they request in there. Sometimes they'll put the dollar amount that they request per the pets.
Okay, so the deposit that we already have in our title company, it's going to be used as the first month. So make sure you check this first option right here and you type in the correct amount, because the commission is going to come from this $1,800. So let's move to number 6. First line, you're going to type in the equivalent to a 12-month lease. So if our lease is $1,800 a month, then if you multiply that for
by 12,
then
yep,
it's gonna be $21,600.
Correct.
Which is right here. When we're doing lease terms that are like yearly, usually the tenant does not have to pay any taxes or association. So I'm gonna make sure I put 0 here. It's different when it's a seasonal rental. Let's say we're in the equestrian
club
time, the period of all the people are coming with their horses and everything. So basically when they're doing when they are doing seasonal, you pay up front. If you're staying in the home 5 months, then you pay up front the months, and they're gonna charge you for taxes as well.
Right, and the local taxes are a little bit different depending per city. So you would need to find out, because for example, what the taxes are that the local taxes that they're collecting is different from Delray Beach to, for example, Palm Beach County to Port St. Lucie County or Broward. And these are for seasonal short-term rentals, like 4 months and so forth.
Okay.
There's still the Florida revenue taxes that are due. And this is as a realtor, you want to make sure that you do let your landlord or the property owner know that they have to pay the Florida revenue tax. And also do let them know as well. And you want to let them know in one or two ways. How? Text or email. Let them know that they need an occupational licensing. Doesn't matter what city or county they're in, they need to get an occupational licensing as well too. So make sure that you let your landlord know, you have to apply and get an occupational licensing. And again, if you're doing short-term rentals, these taxes are due, and long-term rentals as well too, to Florida revenue. But again, that's something that the landlord is responsible for doing.
Okay, so let's continue with the contract to lease. We're gonna select that we're gonna pay the rent monthly. For this particular example, it starts on April 1st, so we're gonna put on the first day. But if the lease happen to start on the 15th, you can put the 15th day here, and then your tenant will be paying every 15th. Or if the landlord does not want the money to come on the 15th, what they can do is that they can prorate, and then they can just keep paying on the first.
Yeah, what Hannah means right there is that you can actually start this lease at any time. It doesn't have to be the 15th. If we get the approval by the HOA approval, or there's no HOA approval, landlord and tenant agree that on the 13th of every month, that's when the lease will begin, or the 26th or the 21st, it doesn't matter what date it is. That's the date that the rent will be due. Now, sometimes they want the payments, the landlords want the payment on the 1st, but they're actually moving in on sometime within the month, within the 15th of the month or the 16th of the month. So you have to prorate it and collect that. But again, that's something that's going to be determined by the landlord a little later down the road.
Okay, so for the pets, specifically for this listing, they're prohibited. So I just went ahead and checked the prohibited mark, and I put the MLS RX number. Same for smoking.
Correct.
And then let's move on to the utilities. So sometimes associations do cover cable or water or landscaping or the maintenance of the pool, whatever it applies here. In this case, nothing applies. So tenant will be responsible for everything. But if it was to be different, just type in that the cable or water or whatever it's being
What's
covered
included
by the landlord or the association.
Correct.
For maintenance, I don't know why this is here, but you want to put here that repairs that have to be done under $100. This is going to depend on how much the rent is, but if they're like simple repairs such as like changing a light bulb or something like that, tenants can take care of that. They don't have to be calling the landlord to replace a light bulb. So let's put repairs under $100, and then anything that is on top of that, landlord can take care of it.
Right, exactly. So the tenant's responsible for any repairs below $100, or anything that costs more than $100, and the landlord's going to be responsible. But you want to make sure you put that in there, because a lot of landlords don't want to be disturbed, on minimum things like for example, like Hannah says, a light bulb. Light bulb is $1.50, something like that. Yeah, it's not,
All right. So association approval. Make sure that you select the tenant, because it's the tenant's responsibility basically to go and apply for the association to give them an approval or a denial, whatever. But make sure that you do this in a timely manner. So if your offer gets accepted on the 5th, you should be submitting your application within 3 days maximum.
Correct. Immediately, as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. And then for additional terms, if there's something that it's broken in the house, like let's say a mirror or anything needs to be repaired, just type it in here.
Right.
In this case, I put the landlord to deliver the property professionally cleaned.
Right, so anything that the tenants want to get either repaired or replaced prior to
The
actually
move-in.
moving in. So it needs to go right there, I think was what, number 12,
Correct.
paragraph 12.
And then paragraph 14, make sure you select if your tenant belongs
To the military. If they've
the
been in any
military.
part of the military, okay, you need to check off if they are in the military or not. So the next one there,
Paragraph 16, you're just gonna put the information for the realtors,
right, both
the tenant's
agencies.
realtor, and of course the
So both
landlord's.
agencies are going to go in there, their names and who the realtors are that are representing, depending on what party.
And then let's move to the last page. Basically, you're gonna type in the information from your tenant, their address, their telephone number, and their email. And of course, the listing agent will do the same for their landlord.
Correct.
And that's about it. That's about it for the contract to lease.
Yeah, filling in a contract to lease is very simple. And here's something, I know that we're going through it pretty briefly because we don't have so much time to be able to do this. The good thing about this class that you guys can watch it over and over. Go onto YouTube and you can watch this class 2, 3, 4, 5 times until you feel comfortable with filling out a contract to lease. Again, this is nothing more than just a test trial. You guys have to do the very same thing. At home, you need to go into your form of simplicity and do a test trial like that. Just write up different scenarios, different buyers, different sellers, and get familiar with the actual contract.
That you guys fill this out.
Correct.
When you go to the house, make sure that you type in all the appliances that the house has. So if it's got a washer, dryer, dishwasher, all the appliances, make sure you type them in here. Again, what are the persons who are the people who are going to be living
Residing.
in this unit? Also the lease term, same thing, April 1st, 2021 till March 31st of 2022. Same 21,600 that we already talked about. But we're gonna do this in installments, and we're gonna pay these installments monthly on the first day. And per installment, it'll be
$1,800.
correct,
$1,800.
$1,800.
As you guys can see, this is really, really simple to fill out. It's just filling in the blanks. I mean, truly, truly simple. It takes minutes to fill out a lease or a contract to lease, but you guys have to practice this at home, and you guys have to go through it and just change the scenarios pretty quickly to go through it.
I'm going to continue with page 2. Again, we're not paying taxes because this is a lease that goes for a year. And then since the rent is paid in installments, I'm gonna pay monthly the amount of $1,800. Here, it's gonna ask you where you want the payments to go to. They're gonna go to me. I'm actually the landlord, but I'm not gonna put my address. Usually what the landlords do is that they type in their banking account information, so you just go and deposit into their account.
Right, the monthly payments.
The monthly payment, correct. Here it's gonna ask you how you would like this payment to be. So I'm going to accept cash. If I want, I can select personal check, money order, whatever applies to your landlord that he feels comfortable with. Sometimes they do not like personal checks, so they just uncheck this one. And then if there's any late fee, or if there's any
Bounce checks,
Bounce
insufficient
checks.
funds, something like that.
you make sure that you
Whatever charge is charged to the landlords, every bank is a little bit different. It could be $25, $35. So you want to ask the landlord what bounce checks or insufficient fund checks, what the fee is, and you want to put it in there that there will be a $25 or $35 in case
Fee.
in case the check bounces or something of that nature.
Again, same thing for the money due prior to occupancy. We already talked about this, about the breakdown. First month $1,800 upon signing the lease, and for security deposit and last month it's gonna be the same $1,800 at moving date. So I'm gonna
Totals to $5,400.
correct. Then the late fees, usually they give you around 5 days to
It's the grace
deposit.
period.
Exactly. If not, you'll get a,
They'll charge, for example, anywhere, it could be like $75 to $100.
it cannot be more than 4%
Correct,
of the payment.
of the monthly payment.
Mhm.
So it'll be 4% of the monthly payment is what your landlord can charge for a late fee charge.
So let's continue to notices. Ishmael Alvarez here, it's my agent. He's my realtor. So, but I want all the notices to be sent to me because he's not my property manager. I'm taking care of my property. He's just doing the lease for me. That's what I'm paying for. Like his services are only to
Lease
get
the property.
Correct.
But who are they going to contact from there on? The information is right there. Hannah Stern, her phone number, her email. So the tenant's going to contact the landlord directly or whoever's responsible.
Correct. And then we move on to the
Number 9.
utilities, which we already talked about as well.
This home offers none.
Yes, in this case, the utilities are entirely covered by the tenant. And then the maintenance,
Yes. Right here is something basically, landlord's very much responsible for everything. But again, a tenant holds certain responsibilities. Changing out the air filters, for example, anything under, again, we put it in there in the contract, the lease. Anything below $100, we put into the lease as well too. Below $100, the tenant's going to handle it. They're not going to disturb the landlord for that. But everything else, pretty much after that, the landlord's going to be responsible. And even if they're doing, for example, pest control, you want to be able to type it in there that the landlord will be responsible for the pest control on a monthly basis.
correct. Then you have to type in how many set of keys you are providing to the tenant because these are the same keys that they'll have to return back once
Correct.
the lease expires. Especially for those like pool areas, they do give you like special keys or fobs or access cards, so make sure that you put this in because if not, you may lose them. If the property was built prior to 1978, make sure you fill out this part right here,
Absolutely.
the lead-based paint disclosure. But in this case, the house was built in 2007.
2007.
So I'm just gonna
Right.
skip this.
These are any homes, the lead base applies to a sale and even a rental or a lease. Any home that was built before 1978.
Correct. So let's continue and make sure on paragraph 16 you select that tenant will be responsible to apply for the association, and sometimes the association does require a deposit for the common areas, so make sure you negotiate with or you speak to the landlord to make sure who's the person who's going to take care of this deposit, either the landlord or the tenant.
Correct.
And I'm just missing two important parts, which are the broker commission. So we're going to type in our information, the other realtor's information. Since we said the monthly payment it's $1,800, then we're going to split it in half, and landlord is going to take care of it.
Actually, landlord's paying. So $900 is going to go to the listing agency, and the other $900 is going to go to the tenant's agents.
Correct. And then last part, we're going to go ahead and fill this out, whoever prepared
The lease.
the lease.
For example, I did, and I worked for, we'll put in the business name, Partnership Realty, and the address at the bottom, you're going to put that in there as well too, our address, 1663 South Congress Avenue, and the phone number for the office as well too.
Correct.
So that needs to all be completely filled out.
And then just to finish, the early termination fee, you can either select that you agree, but you will be responsible for 2 times the monthly rent if you do not comply with the contract, or you can select that you do not agree, but then the landlord is gonna.
And the landlord's going to come after the $21,600 for the full term. So it's going to tell you there, early termination, landlord's going to tell you if they're agreed to it, and if they do agree to early termination, they might just ask for 2 months rent, okay? But if not, they're going to put, I do not agree, the landlord, and they're going to come after the tenant for the full amount.
And that's about it. All the pages besides from 1 to 7, they're all filled out. This is just like all the information from the laws.
Our Florida laws. And again, you have to hand over everything. I think there's a total of 18 pages, if I'm
18,
not
correct.
mistaken. So the lease is all total 18 pages. It's not the first 9 pages. It's a total 18 pages. So as you guys seen, very simple to fill out a contract to lease, very simple to fill out a Florida lease as well too, and what the steps are. I truly appreciate everyone watching this class. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to call us. If not, you can just watch the class all over again. Go to YouTube and you'll be able to see it there. I'm Ismael Alvarez with Partnership Realty, Hannah Stern.
Thank you so much.
And thank you guys for being with us.